then. Can everybody hear me with the doors open?
Yeah.
And the mask on?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Normally, I don't need a microphone. I tend to be able to talk loud enough, but I don't want the doors to be too loud. We can close them if we need to. Alrighty. We're at 6 o'clock, we're starting. And if they're late, they're late. So, all right, I've introduced you to Patrick. Patrick is my employee of the month. Otherwise, I'm a one-man show. My name's Ramsey. I use he, him pronouns. I've been making fursuits. Oh, it's October. Woo! 10 years! Now, that being said, I don't know everything. Okay? There are some things that I don't know, and I've had at least one person every panel. Huh? Oh, that's them. I've had at least one person every panel that's asked me a question that I didn't know the answer to, and that's okay. We don't know everything. If I don't know the answer, I will gladly help you find answers to it, but that requires me doing research, and I can't do that during my panel. So that's a, hey, see me afterwards. And if anybody who's interested in knowing the answer to that, come on and extendo panel at the end. Go juice. I've been up since 6 in the morning. Oh, we got a pool full of balls. Nice, all right. Okay, next, I have a camera, and actually I can see you in the camera. So, understand, you either have to, actually, hold on. I'll just, you are no longer in the video. So, kind of the end of this table, understand that if you come back here, you will be in my YouTube video. If you ask a question, my microphone can hear you, your voice will be in my YouTube video. If you're uncomfortable with that, ask me after the panel, when I'm not recording. Cool? Okay. Alrighty. This is just fursuit heads. There was a generic fursuit panel for kind of a more generalized one, so I'm focusing on heads. Personally, a suit isn't a suit without a head. You could have just a head and it's a fursuit. You could have a body and it's like, it's the body, you know, where's the head? Tends to be the most important part. So, when starting to make a fursuit, there's a bunch of stuff that you need to take into consideration because it's not just buy a bunch of fur, buy a bunch of foam, slap it together, and we're done. You could, but there's a bit more to that. That is where a lot of people get tripped up and they're like, oh, well, I have to budget and you have to design and those things. So having a budget and a design is the first step you need to starting to make a fursuit. A design could be, I want to make a white wolf. Design, you're done. You don't have to have concept art, you don't have anything other than that. Actually, I would like the doors to be closed if you could. Thank you. Because the doors are bothering, the outside is bothering me. So, if you are someone who's on a budget, and a lot of people who make their own suits are on a budget, they realize, oh goodness, I can't pay thousands of dollars for a suit, so I'm going to make my own. And I'm here to tell you, making it is not super cheap either. You can be anywhere from $100 to thousands of dollars depending on your design and the materials you plan to use. Squeesh? You're fine.
I don't want to pay for it.
That's fair. I think they get auctioned off at the end, which is cool. That being said, there are ways that you can make, I don't want to say budget suits, but you can build a suit with a limited budget. Whether that be you work for a couple months and you buy your parts in chunks instead of one lump sum, because a lot of people will sit there and go, oh my goodness, I have to pay $800 in materials? Holy crap. No. You pay like $50 a month, work your way up, and then you can budget your way to making your own suit. And it's still cheaper in the long run instead of paying somebody. So, I can have an entire panel on budgeting for fursuits, because hi, business major, I love a spreadsheet's my best friend. So, but budgeting and designing before you start, because when you have a design, you know what you need to buy. You want to know what colors of fur you want to buy. You know what materials you need, because there's tons and tons and tons and tons of materials out there past just fur that make fursuits cool. And if you don't know it exists, you can't incorporate it into your design. Or if you have a cool design, you go, oh man, I really want golden horns. Your horns gave me inspiration. Thank you so much. I want golden antlers. Well, fur doesn't come in gold, and antlers aren't made of fur. So what other materials you got? You gotta think of that. So through the panel, I'm gonna give you a bunch of examples for you to keep in mind going forward of what you would like to use when you're making your own suits. So I'm gonna start with base materials, because there are several different base materials that you can use. There are several different base materials that you can use when building your suits. And you want to keep them in mind, because each one has different pros and cons. So, I have to actually grab all my bases. There is the first kind, and this is probably the most popular kind for a reason. Upholstery foam. Comes in a whole bunch of colors, a whole bunch of thicknesses, because these are the same kind, but they're different thicknesses, depending on what you need them for. And then this and this are two different kinds. This one's a slightly less denser kind than this, and they're different colors. And they essentially make a head that looks like this. You take bits like a nutshell. You take bits, you glue them together, you make a shape. There are some pros and cons. There's pros and cons to all of them, but the pros and cons of this one is one. The first pro, this weighs nothing. Okay, this weighs like I could. It's really lightweight, so it's really good for people who can't wear heavy hats or heads for very long. It's very breathable. Okay, it's foam. It has holes and pores. It's going to be lightweight and breathable. Another pro, which could also be a con depending on the person, fully customizable. You do whatever you want, whatever shape you can think of, you can make the shape with upholstery foam. You're not limited. You can make it as small or as big as you want. Now, that can be daunting for some people. That's intimidating sometimes. When you're making your first head, you go, well, shoot, how big should the muzzle be in comparison to the ears? Don't stress. That's my one thing that you take from me. Don't stress. It's okay. Because if you don't enjoy making the fursuit head, there's no point in making it. Just have a fun time. There's no rush, okay? Think of a timeline in which you would want your suit to be done, and then quadruple it. And then give yourself that much time, all right? A rushed head is never the same quality as a time-taken head, okay? And also, upholstery foam, again, comes in tons of colors, but you can accomplish tons of different things with upholstery foam that you probably couldn't do with other heads. And upholstery foam heads, when finished, you could, hey, catch. I'm totally confident throwing that across the room, and it's gonna be fine. It's not gonna shatter, it's not gonna break, it's not gonna do anything. Toss it back, I guess. This can get wet, you can wash this, and as long as you dry it out properly, it's gonna be fine. Finished heads are a lot more durable than unfinished heads, so obviously the ear decided to do this, but that's fine. Finished heads won't do that. Stay. No. The next head type, similar in nature, but slightly different, and that is expanding foam. These are casted, but they're still foam. So all of the same properties that these have, being lightweight, being breathable, being able to be thrown across the room, same here. The other issue is these are, or a con, would be that this takes a lot of learning to make. You have to make a mold. Hold on. Wherever my mold is going. Oh no. Oh, there it is here. You have to essentially, this is a tiny mold, but you've got to make a mold. You have to fill it. You have to wait. And then you pull it out, and you've got it. Then you've got to sollow it out. But this mold making is difficult for some people to grasp because you have to make the mother mold, which is essentially a clay version of exactly what you want. And then you have to mold it, and then you have to buy all the materials. It's very expensive. It's a high learning curve, and I would not recommend it for children without supervision because it is dangerous. You must do this in a well-ventilated area with proper respiration and protection because liquid silicone and liquid uncured foam is hazardous to your health if not used properly. This is perfectly safe. You can cut this, you can do this. this won't hurt you, okay? So if you buy one, and that's the next thing, if you buy one from someone else who makes them, it ups your budget, unfortunately, but it's safe to cut, use, do. You don't have to worry about learning how to do it. You just have to find one you like. So you have to weigh your thing of, do I want a custom one and have to learn all this stuff and have the ability to do it and pay all this extra money? Or is there a pre-made one that I really like that I can pay just a little bit more money, but it's not fully custom? So that's kind of the difference between these two, is that this one's fully custom and you make it as unique to you, whereas these ones are pre-made. Or really expensive and difficult with a learning curve if you want them to be custom. This is just another example of a foam base. It's just a different color. It comes in tons of colors. I mean, so don't be afraid if you see a different color of expanding foam. Same thing. It's just a different brand of foam is all. Just like how we have the different colors of upholstery foam. All right. Next option. If I can get it. Resin. Resin is another thing that is very similar to the expanding foam in there's a learning curve, you have to mold it, you have to model it, you have to do all of that. Resin is not safe to use when uncured. Resin is also still dangerous when cutting and heating. It can be. So if you were to buy a resin blank from someone else, it comes like this, unless you buy a cut one, but they're more expensive. This is the cheapest option you can get. If you were to cut this, it creates a dust that can hurt you. So again, you need to wear proper ventilation and do all of that. There's also a steeper learning curve with resin, even if you buy it from someone else, because you need to know how to use power tools to cut this. You can't cut this with scissors, you can't cut this with a knife. You'll need a Dremel, you'll need a heat gun, a drill, a couple of other things. And if you don't have those tools, and you don't know how to use those tools, again, that's another, you have to buy the tools, you have to learn how to use the tools, and there can be some barriers that prevent you from having this option. But there are some pros and cons to resin. Resin gives you one of the most articulated jaw movements. You can get a moving jaw with foam, definitely. Resin tends to be more sensitive. So you can sit there and talk, and it will move easier than the foam. This can also be painted. So if you like the shape of this face and you don't want to put fur on it, you can paint it. There's tons, I've seen a few suits walking around with painted faces. You can't paint foam. Foam will absorb it and it will never dry and it'll act like a sponge. Please don't try and paint foam, oh my goodness. You know what, I want to say maybe 9 years ago when I first started making suits, I had a suit that had been made of green foam and I'm like, oh God, I gotta put white fur on this green foam. How do I do that? And I just experimented and I was like, oh, let's paint it. Paint it white. And I went, it's not drying. Ooh, it's not drying. Yeah, so don't paint foam. Don't do that. So resin. Are there any other pros and cons to resin? I don't know. We'll come back to it if there is. Now, there is a fourth option. Let me find it. I do not have a base of it, unfortunately. Where did it go? Oh no! Oh, it's in this bag, ain't it? No, it's not. I thought I knew what I was doing. I'm so sorry. Yeah, there it is. This is a little eye blank, but it's 3D printed. The next option is 3D print. Okay, I wish I had a base that's 3D printed. It's very similar, and I forgot a pro and con of resin, but we'll go back to it. 3D print is similar to resin in lots of ways, kind of the way the two foams are. It's a rigid material made of plastic that will give you a good articulated jaw. And it can also be painted. So similar things to that of resin, but my hair's in the way. 3D printed bases tend to be significantly lighter than resin. Resin is heavy. Okay? It also tends to be a bit more durable than resin, depending on how it's made. 3D print also has the issue of learning curve. Goodbye. It wants to be in the bucket. It can be in the bucket. 3D print has the learning curve of you need to know how to 3D print, you need to know how to model, you need to have a 3D printer. That costs money. That is knowledge you need to have, which can, again, prevent you from using that kind of base. There are lots of people who offer all of these for purchase, again, not custom. 3D printed heads tend to be more customizable. I know that there's, who is it? Oh, shoot. There's one maker that I saw that takes custom 3D printed head models because all you need to do is digitally model the head and then print it. There's no requiring to like make a mold and then cast it and then do, no, is you just 3D print it, so it's easier to customize. So it's like, hey, I really like the shape of this, but can the muzzle be 2 inches longer? Yeah, digitally and then print it. So those tend to be a bit more customizable than resin or foam, this expanding foam. So one big con, to resin and 3D print. You drop this, there's a very high likely that it's going to crack. 3D print and resin can also shatter. There's another material, and I'm going to go over some materials that I would never ever recommend in a moment, that are also dangerous. You gotta be careful with those. Okay. So those materials, I'll talk about them. I don't have any examples because they're not safe to have. There are some people who used to make the plastic thermal mesh fursuit heads years ago, very long time ago, like 10 plus years ago. Those are not safe. Okay. Don't think about using that stuff because you crack it, it will literally in shards. It's like oh shoot, what's it called? It's not kitty whiskers. It's
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass, yeah, fiberglass, thank you. Literally glass. You're gonna have that on your face. You trip and fall. Don't do it. So don't use that. Another unsafe material, paper and cardboard. Do not use paper and cardboard, okay?
We actually have nothing against them, but we do actually have a cigarette now in a cardboard head.
Yeah. The unsafeness of a cardboard head comes to you can't wash it, and it will mildew quickly. That's about it. 1 second.
Okay.
That's about it. Okay. So it's not like, oh, you're gonna wear it, it's gonna, explode or something crazy. It's not gonna last very long, but you're gonna put a bunch of effort and time into it, and you're gonna put fur and stuff on it, and then it's gonna last you 2 wears. If you wanted to make like a decoration, yeah, go with cardboard. Cool. You want to make a mock-up and then make a pattern out of it? Yeah, it's not going to be in the final product. You could do that. So you want to make a pattern of a horn, but you're going to build it out of cardboard and paper mache and then tape it up and then use that as a pattern to make it out of Minky? Yeah, it's not in the final product, so it's good. Cardboard could be used, just not in the final product.
I
Yes?
think you answered it. I was gonna say there are some makers who use either paper mache or similar techniques to that. So like you were saying, it's just if you use it right, basically. Okay.
Yeah, I would never have it in the final product. So paper is super, super useful. Where you I want to make a hand paw, so I'm going to put my hand on the paper and trace it and then draw my hand paw, and there's a pattern. But you're not going to tape some paper together and ta-da, I've got hand paws. That's weird,
Yeah.
All right, I don't know whose hand I saw first.
You can go first.
I've also seen a lot of comments, especially with cardboard heads,
Yeah.
about black mold.
Yes, I had mentioned molding. You can only wear it once or twice before your sweat will make the cardboard mold. And then you cannot wear it after that because you will breathe all of that in and it'll make you sick. So, if you're gonna make I want a werewolf costume for Halloween and I'm gonna wear it one night on Halloween, sure, whatever, that's fine. But generally speaking, fursuits are things that you own for years. You put a lot of money into it and have it for years to come. And cardboard don't do that. Cardboard is like a one-time use, I'm leaving kind of crap.
I want to also mention, because you talked about foam, EVA foam. I have seen a lot of patterns that I've been purchased use EVA
I forgot.
foam.
I'm so sorry.
There it is.
Okay. I leave EVA foam to the last because it's an honorable mention.
Okay. There you go.
But would you you want to continue your question or would you like me to?
I
Okay.
want to talk about if there's pros and cons to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So EVA foam is one of those things that people generally don't use for the whole head. It's difficult to work with, I'll tell you that. It's very hard to smooth it over unless you've got a Dremel tool and a bunch of other things. Again, you have those things. This is not a fursuit head. There's no fur on here. It's not a fur. I wouldn't say it's a mask. It's a fun mask. It's a good alternative, a cheap budget version of a fursuit head that doesn't require any fabric other than this elastic. Okay? Looks nice, but a bit easier if you were wanting something quicker cheaper fursuit adjacent, almost. Now, you'll notice that this head here has EVA foam on the ears. EVA foam is a lot more rigid, okay? It holds its shape a lot more. And so for things that stick upright, like horns or ears, a lot of makers will use EVA foam alongside another base type. Not for the face, but for accessories, like features, I guess you would say. And EVA foam is safe to use. It's not going to break, it's not going to shatter. I can do this and it's going to pretty much bounce right back after a moment to the shape it was in. To get it to curve, that requires a little bit of heat. And to get it, so sorry. My stutter is making an appearance today. Hello, stutter. And in order to get it smooth on the edges, that will require either a really good scissor job or a Dremel. But for a smooth cut like this, you generally don't have to smoothen it out. It's not impossible to make it the whole face out of it, but it's more work than it's necessarily worth. Also, EVA foam has that same issue that resin does, that when you're cutting it with a Dremel, it becomes that really fine dust. You don't want to breathe that in. So you need to be in a well-ventilated area to prevent yourself from breathing any of that in.
The EVA is good as a supplemental.
Yes, EVA foam is very good for rigid parts on literally any base type. So if I was to make ears for literally any of these, whether it's a dog or a horse, I'm making it out of EVA foam. I like EVA foam. I don't like wiggly, floppy ears. Some people like floppy ears, and then it's A-okay. Oh, ooh.
Like that, like just me shaking my head.
Yeah. But like, these ears are not made of EVA foam, and they wiggle a bit.
Yeah.
These ears are made of EVA foam, and they don't move nearly as much. So it's up to you. What do you want your ear? Do you want your ears to be really floppy? I think that can be really cute, and some people love them, and that's A-okay. You want floppy ears? Make it out of just upholstery foam. Wish I had a bigger piece of upholstery foam, because it'll flop really easy. Yeah, give me that. You got upholstery foam ears? Yeah. These are kind of thick. Wait, these are kind of thick. Okay. But like, and you sit here and you go, and they wiggle. Okay, and it's cute. Whereas this is my Sona, and I don't really want her ears to flop around because she's serious, and that looks goofy. So it's up to you on this, the vibe you want your suit to kind of have. Thank you for making an appearance, Kiki. All right, yes?
I do have another question, because I also noticed it on the foam head, the eyes. That's also EVA foam that you use, right?
This?
Yeah.
All right, so this is, so we have EVA foam, which tends to be a bit thicker.
Right.
You can get thinner EVA foam. So you have the different thicknesses, and you have to take that into consideration. This is normally in millimeters when you buy it. So this is, I think, a 1 millimeter. I have a ruler. I'm guessing. This might be a 1 millimeter, and this might be a 4. So when taking that into consideration, make sure you're buying the correct thickness if you're buying it online. This is also commonly known as foamies. Foamies is just thin EVA foam. Okay, it might be a less dense version, depending if you buy a cheaper kind, but it's not as rigid, okay? It will bend, it will stay bent a lot longer than this will.
It comes in 10 colors.
Yeah, it comes in a bunch of colors. This, if you seal this properly, you can paint it. Ta-da.
It also comes in pink and purple and green.
Yeah, so this, when sealed properly, can be painted. So some people will use that as the framing for around the eyes, because this is what this is. This is foamies. Okay. These are magnets that are kind of, you can see I cut the little holes that have the magnets fit. Put a little bit of not hot glue, because hot glue can ruin the magnet. Any other kind of like super glue or cool adhesive. The heat is what is the issue. You just kind of put it in there, and actually, you can see on this eye, there's actually another piece of foamy behind. So when you look in, there's black there. So there's another piece of foamy for the magnet to actually get glued to, and then this foamy is the pretty outside to create the edging. I don't have a finished head that has this style, because this one isn't that like that. This one doesn't have magnets, but that's if you want magnets. Otherwise, you can just put one layer of foamy and create a nice finished eye. Okay, so now at this point, and I'm going to kind of move on to furs. Does anybody have any questions about, nope, that's a lie, I'm not done with bases. So sorry, I have another honorable mention. And that's these fun little things called dino masks.
Classic.
Heyo, if you're an adult, these suck. All right?
No strong feelings whatsoever.
I am going to say this. No, hold on. Look how tiny. This is the littlest fursuit that I own. Look how ridiculously small this is. Take that into consideration, because a lot of people don't see these in person before they buy them. They buy them online. They're puny. If you're an adult, it looks tiny and it doesn't fit. You need a lot of editing to get this to fit. Kids, yeah, definitely, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, but small. These are also. Bye, Rune. Rune wants to be on the floor too. Bye, Rune. Thanks, Rune. All right. These are. Oh, it's not squeaking. This one squeaks. This one squeaks. Yeah, this one's the not good. Like, if you have to buy one, I recommend this kind, not this kind. This one's $50. This one's like $15. I bought this at a thrift store for $5, so that's the only reason why I own this. But
It also looks horrendous.
yeah, you can't. Okay. Also, these are really hard to edit the shape. Unless you're adding to it, you can't really take away without cutting it, and then it defeats the point in using the base if you have to use a power tool to cut it up. You know, this is a cheap and easy way for a kid to have a fun time, or for somebody who's really on a budget, and that's fine. This is a really good budget option. Okay, you add ears and a hood to this, and you can have a great time. That's awesome. You can paint it, you can line it with fur, you can put stuff on it, and it makes a good, decent-ish base for a I don't say temporary, a suit that isn't going to necessarily last as long as something like this would. Okay, these are going to last 10 years, this is going to last maybe 3. Okay, this is just not a very durable plastic. You got to think this was designed to be a children's toy, used for a couple years and thrown away. You know, you got to think of what it's being used for versus this. This is purposefully hand-designed by a professional to last. Keep that in mind. Not saying this is a bad thing, and I'm also not saying that if you put effort and creativity and time into these, they can't be fursuits. They can be when customizing them. This, as it stands, is not a fursuit. Just as much as this, as it stands, is not a fursuit. This isn't a fursuit. This is a base. This is a base. So, if you buy these, keep in mind they're tiny. Don't buy this garbage. Buy one of these. And these come a bunch more shapes. This is the only version they have of this one, and I wonder why. This is supposed to light up, but this is heavy. Like, if you want to come up and touch any of my stuff that I have that is A-okay, this is really heavy. And it's awful. I've just... Go back. Rexy can stay up here, I guess. Actually, I need some space. Okay, so now that I'm done with bases, does anybody have any questions about bases before I move on to other fabric types?
Kind of a business question.
Sure.
Have you noticed trends towards a certain kind of head base? Are more people still with the traditional upholstery foam? Are more people going towards 3D? Has there been a shift over time?
Okay, so are we talking
In terms of like
commissioners or
commissions?
builders?
Both, even.
Okay, so commissioners, people who commission want what they want, and they will find the person who makes it that way, and that is good. Okay, not everybody can make heads with 3D printed. Not everybody can make custom molded upholstery foams. And good, it's great that people have variety and that we can pick. Whereas for building, I would say for first-time makers, this is by far the most popular option. Like I said, it's super safe. The most risk you're going to have is burning yourself on a hot glue gun. This foam is not going to do anything to you. You're going to get covered in it. That's about it, you know. So this by far is the most popular option for new makers who don't have experience with working with other power tools. I have found that there are people who have experience with 3D printers before making fursuits. They did other stuff with 3D printing. And so when they got into making fursuits, they 3D printed everything. but they had a prior experience. This is popular for people who are new, kids and adults alike. So, any other question? At the end, I'll let everybody come in. Whatever. Questions? All right, I'm going to talk about other fabrics now. This table is too small. You helped me lay all this out. It covered my entire king-size bed with me laying all this out, so I don't have enough space. Okay. So I want to briefly talk about resin still, because resin is one of those things that you can have a really wide variety of things. If you know how to build resin, it can quite literally be whatever shape you want. Okay, this is cut, I'm so sorry, but this was a bullhorn. No, it was this way, and it was flat. I cut it. Because this actually used to be Kata's horn. So it was cut and it sit there. So this is actually like I had said earlier, a bullhorn made by Dream Vision Creations. So if you see something pre-made and you go, I can do something different with that, do it. Dream Vision Creations is not mad at me for making this into Kata's horn, a dragon horn, instead of a bullhorn. They don't care. Actually, I think if I told her, she'd be like, wow, that's really cool. That's creative. You know? If I took, this is actually this base here. This base is a lizard base. I'm going to make it a dragon, because lizard. No, I'm kidding. Okay. This is a horse. But I could make it a duchy or a cow or whatever. Okay, with editing you can make it whatever. Would anybody like to guess what this fursuit head's base was before I modified it into a dragon? You know. Actually, you might not know, but any guesses? Yeah. Horse? No.
Deer, maybe.
A deer? No.
Duchy?
No. Wolf? It was Draconic Knight's Toonie dog.
Wow. I was gonna say
Toonie dog. Also, does anybody want to guess? Okay, I didn't even mention it. And I'm going to address this stigma that there are those people that'll be like, realistic heads are made of resin and Toonie heads are made of foam, and that's it.
Oh, crap.
Would anybody like to guess what these heads are made of? This realistic head and this Toonie head.
Realistic has foam.
Yeah, and
The Toonie
it's
the
resin.
Toonie one is resin.
This is made of foam. And this is made of resin. You can do whatever you want. Okay? Do what you want. This has a moving jaw. Okay.
Ooh.
And it's got a resin jaw set. I actually have a different one here. Okay. So again, we can build whatever we want with resin. Jaw set. Same jaw set that's in the mouth. Again, Dream Vision Creations, and then there's the top version.
Wow.
Ooh, no. Hold on. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's the right way. Okay. Nom nom nom. And then here's the nose from that resin head that fell in my bucket. So I got a resin nose. You can make whatever you want out of resin. Here's a little, I think this is a claw. Again, this is from Dream Vision. Oh, most of these are from Dream Vision Creations. So we got a little claw. This could also be a horn. If you wanted it to be a horn, you could make this into a tooth.
Like a really big tooth.
A really big tooth, whatever. Again, be creative and think about it. And if you sit here and you go, man, yeah, I want really big, chunky teeth, you could look at horns. If you wanted these cool ridges in it, and you go, oh yeah, cool, big, chunky tooth, here. Have some chompers, my friend. But there are other materials that can be casted and purchased from other makers as well. This is a foam. It's got a foam backing, but it's kind of a silicone nose. This is a deer nose, I believe. And then we have, of course, the ever popular silicone tongues. These are nice. You can make them out of minky, whatever you want. But you got the nice silicone tongues. This one fits in this jaw set. Wow. Ooh. Ah. Exactly. All right. So you have all these things that are pre-made that you can buy from other places. So keep in mind that just because the maker said, hey, I made a bullhorn, it's cool. And there's supposed to be a second one, I got it. I made bullhorns, they're really cool. Why do that? Nah, we're gonna take it and flip it around. Now it's dragon horn. Why not? You know, I had this unicorn horn, alrighty, and I went, I don't want it to be a unicorn horn. This would be a really cool tooth. I don't know. Whatever. You want like spikes down your back, but they're twisted like this? Yeah, do it. Whatever. Whatever you want. It's a wand. Vadacadabra. Yeah, really weird saber teeth. Do whatever. And there are some things that are kind of limited, like I don't exactly know what you could use the unicorn horn other than a unicorn horn, but yeah. I'm sure there's some people who have done something else with it, like the spikes down the back or whatever.
The only limit's your imagination.
Exactly.
And your budget.
And your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, when the thinking of things you can do, okay? Because there are, what was I thinking? No, my example was important, never mind. All right, so now that we have talked about other materials you can purchase from other places, we can talk about the materials in which we can build and cover and finish our fursuit heads with. Excuse me, you need to look nice. Thank you. You're on display. You want to be in the running for Employee of the Month, you gotta, all right, so when trying to figure out what, Go ahead.
So, speaking of resin and pre-made, one thing I discovered, if you find a part that you like, but you don't like the color, I found there's a urethane casting putty that you can take like a resin claw, wrap it around there, make a negative of that, and then cast your own resin color of choice into that.
Pause. That might be illegal.
Oh,
Alrighty? Hey, pause. Depending on the terms of service of the person you bought it from, they might say no copies. That would technically be a copy.
I think BBC specifically has that, especially for the stole dogs.
Yes. So, a lot of places, a lot of people who do custom 3D printed thing, or not 3D printed, resin things, you can get a custom color. So they can be painted too. So like if I wanted this to be a bullhorn, but I wanted it to be like weathered or gradiated, that's not. I want a gradient on my horn. Okay, that's what I want. You can paint them and then seal it, and then you're gonna be okay. So just be careful with that. If you get written permission, it's a little different. But you have to get written permission. I wouldn't go around just copying those things. Be careful.
Definitely not for commercial use. This would have to be for personal use.
Sometimes they still will not like that.
And ask permission first if
Yes.
you're going to be checked.
Definitely, please. Because a lot of times they do, like the Dream Vision creations, you can put in like a hex code, and they'll match it as close as they can to whatever hex code you want. Also, where did it go? Here it is. Come here, friend. Alrighty.
I use that specifically to test some RGB LEDs that are needed to put them in
There
the
you
cloth.
go.
And then I use some UV reactive resin and let that set, and now I have an UV LED embedded in the UV sensitive cloth, and it looked amazing.
Yeah. So I want this horn, but I don't like how shiny it is, and I want it to be a different color. Ta-da! It's a different color.
Sometimes the simplest answer is the easiest one.
Yeah, I covered it in a different material, or I painted it, or I did whatever. Actually, I'm so sorry. I did this very quickly, just as an example. You probably want to do it a bit better, so you don't have a bunch of extra. But you take some tape, you pattern it, then mark it out on your fabric. You make a cover, and you slip it over top of it. You glue it on, and now it's a different color and a different material. So if I wanted my horn to be wherever it's gone, here it is. I want my horn to be pink. I want my horn to be green. Now it's green. I want my horn to be holographic blue and purple. It's now holographic blue and purple. Whatever. You know, you like this shape, but you want it to be something else, but you want it to be rigid, you can always cover it. now that I have these pulled out, I'll talk about it. So this material, which I also have here, actually I have this one there. These two are the same. These two are called, no, because they're stretchy.
Oh, lycra?
It's a shiny lycra, all right?
Okay.
There's some issues with this stuff. You gotta be careful. Some of these are not machine washable. It'll rub off because it's like a plastic, it's heat treated to the lycra. So you have the lycra on the back and you've got a plastic shiny stuff on the front. So if you stretch it too far, you'll notice that it starts to kind of go away. So if you stretch it really, really far, it gets duller. That's because it's literally you're pulling the plastic apart. Okay. So this can be used a bit of stretch. I would be just careful with this stuff. It looks really pretty, and it is fragile. Same with this stuff. This is a duller version, but it's still the same stuff, and it will dull out. And it's also easy if you rub it, it'll wear off over time. So be careful with this stuff, because I always see people go, ooh, I really like this, I really like this. Ooh, careful, please. Just be warned that this is not as durable as most other things. Now, this is lycra. You notice that is the same on both sides, so it's not going to do that. This will be fine. Lycra and, grab the other one. This is a way bigger piece, I'm so sorry. This is lycra and this is neoprene. I'm so sorry, I started to hiccup. This is neoprene and this is lycra. These are probably the most common options to line fursuit heads with. And I do not recommend lining fursuit heads with literally anything else. Okay? There's a whole debate on Twitter right now. If anybody's been on Twitter for the past 2 days, because we're on the con, why would I be on Twitter? The people are like, cotton bad. Cotton is bad. Don't line your fursuit heads with cotton. Now, you want to make the nose out of cotton? You want to line the ears with cotton? Sure. Don't line the heads, the inside of the heads with cotton. I was almost sent to the hospital by a fursuit head lined with cotton. Don't do it.
Mold.
It's cheap, yes, but it's so much warmer than it needs to be. Okay? There's no need. I would rather an unlined fursuit head than a cotton-lined fursuit head.
That through the body as well?
Yes, anywhere.
Okay.
Cotton is an outside material, not an inside material. Don't line anything with the cotton. Now, if you want to cuff, just the cuff with cotton, just the edge of your neck with cotton, that's fine. But don't line the whole inside of the head or make the pattern out of the whole pillow padding on your digigrade legs with cotton, or line the feet with cotton, or line your hand paws with cotton. Use it sparingly and on the outside. I saw your hand, and then I'll answer you.
Okay, I'm on the same tangent with you. I see people take the casted foam and they can't get it perfectly smooth on the inside, so they use quilted broadcloth, and that
Don't do that
so
either.
bad.
Okay.
So an alternative to anyone who wants to use quilted broadcloth is spacer mesh. It's it's thick, but it's really squishy. So it'll give you that same smooth feeling, and you don't need to use cotton.
Neoprene.
Yeah, neoprene too.
See, you can see it's a little thick, but the thing is this stuff is sweat wicking, but it's also really cool. Because it's sweat wicking. I could probably have an entire bodysuit made of this stuff and I'd be cool. Alright? It's very nice. I actually touch it and it's cool. Actually, it was on my head, so now it's warm, but don't text me. I'm in a panel. Which head? No, none of these are. But so see how this is bumpy?
Mm-hmm.
Also, it don't need to be smooth. It really don't. It needs to be comfortable. The inside needs to be comfortable. Now you got these, they're not sharp, it's foam, but you got really big bumpies that could be uncomfortable. Just make it smooth enough that it's comfy, and then you take this. It's smooth now. You're welcome. Super easy. Okay, and if you were to hot glue this in, it's not going to create those hard spots. So lycra, because lycra is so thin, if you were to hot glue lycra, do you have an example that I can show the class?
Oh my.
No. I'm not going to be able to reach it. Actually, no. I tore all your lycra out. Do you have an example for the class? No. No, you don't. Oh, yeah, you do. Right there. Here you go. This is a Lycra lined head. You can see it.
Oh.
That's what happens when you put hot glue on Lycra. It gets hard, and it can be uncomfortable. So that's one downside to Lycra, I would say. Lycra is thinner and cooler, a little bit, than neoprene, but it does hard spots. So unless you are very, 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 very smooth and careful and very light with your hot glue, it's gonna get hard and bumpy, and it'll look weird. Which, I mean, the inside doesn't really matter what it looks like, but it's uncomfortable sometimes. This spot is actually like here, but it's not touching me, it's kind of out, so it doesn't matter. But it can do that elsewhere, anywhere, so just be careful. Go back on the floor where you belong. Okay.
So would you recommend gluing the Lycra in or doing something else, or like sewing it in?
Personally, I would just say use neoprene. I exclusively use neoprene now. I don't think there's really any point to use Lycra. Lycra makes like nice like other stuff, and it's not dangerous to use. It's just not the best. So sorry, you had a question.
I'm kind of new to like this all fursuit making and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you specifically made a suit for like outdoor activities, or if you like live in a cold place, would lining it with cotton be a good idea?
Never. No, never. A fursuit is going to be warm no matter how cold outside is. When I almost went to the hospital because of a fursuit head lined with foam, it was snowing outside.
Wow.
Or lined with foam. No, lined with cotton. I'm so sorry. It's made of foam. No, but it was lined with cotton and it was snowing outside. And yeah. Another reason why I almost went to the hospital is because they like stripped my fursuit off of me and then laid me in the snow thinking they'd cool me down. Don't do that either. But this is not a fursuit safety panel. This is a fursuit making panel, and I gotta have an entire panel about the medical side effects to fursuiting. Anyway, so going back to our offered materials here, we have vinyl. It's kind of stiffer. It's got a good side and a bad side, a not pretty side and an ugly side. And this stuff makes really nice horns, teeth, claws. It's typically the stuff that's not fuzzy, or you can make scales. You can take a whole bunch of stuff. And this comes in a whole bunch of colors, and it's like you can get smooth kind or you can get a textured kind. This one happens to be textured. It kind of looks like skin almost, but it's green, so Shrek skin. Alrighty. This is the wrong bag. I have so many bags. We have another type of Lycra. This is a bit more see-through. This is, I believe, called jersey mesh. This stuff does not work the way Lycra does. This stuff will not sweat wick a whole lot, and then it will just be itchy and awful. So this and Lycra, I will say, Lycra is a really good option if you need to reinforce something. So for example, I'm not done with this fursuit head, but when I'm done with it, or not done with it, when I'm done building the base, I'm gonna take some Lycra that's of a color that matches the fur or white or something like that, and I'm gonna glue the Lycra to the ear so that it prevents the ear from separating like it did right here, and it reinforces it. It spreads the force of pulling on the ear or something over more surface area. It prevents it from tearing. Also, right here on this spot where this strap is, there's going to be some Lycra that goes here that reinforces the spot to prevent the foam from tearing. One moment. Okay. So sorry. You don't want to do this all over the entire head because there's no point. It's a waste. But two, it'll make it hotter. So what's the point? Again, what's the point? But in spots that need some reinforcing, you can do that.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Will that actually stop the ears from like flopping or being like floppy ears, or just reinforce the bottom of the ears from tearing away from the base?
Are you saying like if you were to do the whole ear?
Not the whole ear, but just the bottom base where you say like just
The
to
whole
reinforce.
seam?
Yeah, the whole seam. Cause
It would essentially at where it is would help prevent it from flopping a lot.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say always like it's not gonna make it rigid,
Right.
but it will help it stop from flopping. Okay, it'll be an additional layer. You also gotta think you're gonna put hot glue there. Hot glue is stiff, so hot glue will help hold it too.
Okay.
That's mainly for a This is a seam, and this is a seam that probably will pop or rip soon-ish. No, foam seam, not fabric seam. A foam seam that will pop. Do not glue your seams. This is more for bodysuits. For heads, you kind of can't avoid it because you're gluing the fur to the head, and those are seams. But the neck, say the neck, because there's no foam here. It's just going to be essentially a fur hood that goes over. It's a fur hood that goes over, all right? It's just fur. Just fur. All right? Don't glue these seams. All right? Don't glue any seams that you can avoid or that you aren't attaching to something. When, not if, when you pop a seam, you want the seam to pop. You want the threads to be what breaks, not the fur. It is so easy to just take some more thread, so sorry, and just go back through and put it back together. You rip the fur, you have to replace all those pieces. Brand new fur, okay? You have to seam rip all of them out, replace them, put them back, sew it all back together, okay? So, that also being said, you don't want your thread to be stronger than your fur. There's people out here that are like, use upholstery thread, use the thickest, strongest thread you can. Oh my God, don't do that. You're gonna rip your fur. Now, you don't want to use like embroidery thread because that's really weak. You want to use just a good, here's that scary word again, cotton. Just use a cotton thread. Easy. It's cheap.
Technically, your panel ended 5 minutes ago. Just let you know.
I don't have. Is there a panel after me?
There's one at 7:30.
I'll give you a few extra minutes just to be able to set aside. But I'll also say about the next couple minutes right now. You're good.
All right. So then we're gonna talk about Minky and fur real quick because those are the most popular things. So here's Minky. Minky is similar to fur in many ways. That you have a pile side, so you can see that it's actually moving. It's kind of like a suede almost. All right. Minky. Do I have a lighter color of Minky? Yeah, I do. Right here, pink. Here's some pink. All right. You can see that it moved because it has a pile direction, similar to fur. And then it has a back that's backing like a fur. Minky is really commonly used, like this is a Minky nose. These are Minky horns. Minky is like the most common material you find for things that's not fur. It can be you can make them out of claws, you can make paw pads, you can make noses, you can make horns, you can make all kinds of things. And it comes in a million colors. Look, here's a fur that matches the Minky. Same color. Yay. Now, I'm going to talk about furs, because furs are really important. When you order fur, I always recommend ordering a swatch. This is also beat up. I'm so sorry. This is really old. This is a swatch sheet from Howl Fabric. You pick the ones you want, and they send you a little teeny piece of the fur, so you can touch it, you can look at it, and you can compare them together, so you know basically the colors you want and the types of furs you want when building your fursuit. Here's another one. This one's really beat up. I'm so sorry. But it's more colors. So it lets you touch them and see them. Now, here are some swatches from a different company. Get out of my way. These are from Big Z. So Big Z's fabric swatches are big, like this. And then, yeah, there we go. This one has a sticker on the back, so it tells you which one it is. Okay, this is how they come. And by having these in your hand, you can tell the quality. I could have somebody come up here who has never touched fur before, and I go, which one's the good quality one? And they can tell me. Because you touch it, and it's awful, okay? This stuff, this is the wrong tag for this fur. This is not what that is. Anyway, this is, because I'm like, that's the good one, what? Anyway, but I don't remember what kind this is, but.
Is it half shag?
No.
No.
I don't remember. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not going to say because I don't want to say the wrong one. So you order it and you'll be able to touch it. Here's a tip to figure out how. Oh goodness, yeah. Here's a tip to figure out if a fur is good or not. Goes for all furs. All right. You have the front. This looks. You touch it. It feels plasticky. Okay. This one's nice and dense and soft. It feels like I'm touching a pet. Like I'm touching a rabbit. This actually feels like rabbit fur. My roommate has a rabbit. It feels like a rabbit. All right. This is a bit longer, so it's not as nice, but you can tell. From the distance, you can tell the difference between these two. All right. Now, flip it around. Look at it. Stretch it out. Like actually grab it and like.
I heard something.
Will I?
I heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I heard something pop.
Those were my shoulders. I'm so sorry. But no. Hold on. Wait. Look at it now.
Oh.
Look at it now.
Ew.
Look at how stretched out it is. Okay. And I've done this to this piece of fur so many times that it is bowed, that it is curling.
Ooh.
Garbage. Now I've done that same thing to this piece of fur for years, and it's not doing that. Okay. So you can kind of tell, but also you can look at the back. Look at how shiny this one is. Low quality, high quality. Okay. Now. Low quality. It's not fursuit quality. You want to make a plush out of this, you want a pillow out of this, you want to make a fur coat, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. Not fursuit. Okay? This one's the same kind, just shorter. Still nice and pretty. Not plasticky. We want to come touch them, we can. I think I'll leave it at that. I'm so sorry. I didn't fully get, no, I kind of did. So that we can end our panel on time. If you'd like to come up, touch. Everybody, thank you, Patrick. All right.
Thank you, Patrick.